Hello again, you're welcome to this class. Last class we talked about the timeline, so today we're going to have a look at the vector drawing tools. So the first thing I will talk about is that please ensure you are in your frame 0 because that's where you have to do all your drawing. That's the best practice for Moho software. Alright, so let's begin with some of the tools. We're going to start off with the draw shape tool. The draw shape tool is a tool that can create various kinds of shapes. Alright, you see all the kind of shapes you can create, and these options here make sure that we have an automatic fill or stroke. So if I have that on and I were to draw, let's say, a character head, because I have this tool option, okay, it gives us the stroke and the fill automatically. So let's say I were to disable the stroke, see, this won't have any stroke. Alright, so that's how that works. So these tools here are for shapes that have not been created. Alright, same as this. So let's say I change the color to red. When I draw this, I would have the red fill. But let's say I want to change the color of this shape that has already been created. How do I do that? You would think that it would probably be like, maybe I select the layer, or I select this, maybe I select this and I change. You know, that's not going to work, as you can see. So how you change it is that you have to use the select shape tool. This gives you the option to then change the properties of that shape that has already been created. Alright, so that's what this is for. Okay, so next up, let's look at the line width tool. So let's select this shape, for example. So I'm going to select the line width tool, and then I would select the point. This is how this tool works. You select the point you want to use. So in this case, I'm going to use my transform tool, select this point, and then I can adjust the size of that line width. Alright, which is very interesting. Maybe I'll use this for example. You'd see that we also have some tooltips down here. Okay, so every tool you have selected, check out the tooltips. So I'm going to use the control to select a point, maybe this point, and then I increase the line width. Alright, so that's what the line width tool is for. It's for adjusting the line width of our shape. Alright, then obviously we have the transform point, which is very useful tool we've been using for a very long time, which can move around our point. We have all these tool options above here. You could play around with. We have auto fill, auto stroke, like we've discussed. We also have these options for flipping and changing our shape. Okay, so very interesting. We also have these options here. When you enable this, you'd see that we can see the bezier handles of our shape. So you see, I disable that and everything disappears. These bezier handles are for adjusting the curvature of our shapes, you know, so I can more finely refine my object. Alright, that's what the bezier handles are for. So I am going to open the next one, which is the fixed bezier handles. So when this is enabled, when I move a point, it only moves that point. Alright, but let me show you what happens when I disable, or when I disable this. You see what happens? It affects this other point as well. So with this turned on, it's useful for maybe doing very fine details, but when you want to do more organic manipulation, this should probably be turned off, so you can have something like this. Alright, so I am going to continue. Next up, we have the add point tool. So the add point tool is a tool that can create points. I'm going to continue my character. So I'm trying to draw a very simple character, and I would encourage you to also do the same. So I'm going to draw maybe this like a stick figure. This is the body of the stick figure. So the draw shape tool can create lines as you're seeing now. Okay, very interesting tool. So I'm going to draw characters body. You also see that we have some of these options here, same as before. I am going to select the shape. Let's ensure we have the point selected first of all. Alright, then we'll go to create shape tool. This tool is for creating a shape. So we just have strokes, alright, but because I want these strokes to have some form of line, visible line, so I'm going to come over to the create shape tool, and I'm going to create based on I want a stroke and based on these settings here. Okay, so you press create shape and that creates that shape. All right, so I'm going to draw maybe I would do for the leg. All right, let's do the same. Select the point we want. You see, I think I want a different kind of selection, so you could change selection from this box sort of selection to a lasso selection. So I will use this enabled, and then I can manually easily draw out a very unique shape for my selection. Then I'm going to create the shape. Alright, so that's how we can keep working on our character to add more details. Alright, next up we also have the paint bucket tool. So the paint bucket tool is very interesting tool, because I will quickly demonstrate that. So let's say I were to draw maybe like a character smiling. So let's try that again. Click, and click. When I'm done, I can press escape, and then I'll come here. I can give it a stroke. Alright, and I want this, and that has created my stroke. Alright, let's move this in place. So that's what that does. I can also adjust some of the points individually. I could move this around. So we have we have a lot of flexibility when creating our characters. Alright, so obviously I want you to create your own character. Next up, we're going to have a look at the delete shape tool, which is a very obvious tool that deletes shapes. Very self-explanatory. Next up, let's have a look at the blob brush tool. This creates shapes based on your drawing. Right, very interesting. So let's say I want to create like an eye or something. I'm probably going to reduce the size of my brush from here. Okay, maybe like this. And then I want to enable stroke, and yeah, let's merge the strokes. So I'll click this, and you have the shape. I can come here, and then I could reduce the size of that. Let's try it again. Let's move this in place. Then I'm going to Ctrl C and Ctrl V, copy and paste, or Command C, Command V if you're on the Mac. Let's move this in place. I can hold Shift when I move an object to make sure it stays on the very horizontal axis. So we have this option. I know it's quite a scary character, but make yours finer than mine. Let's see how fine yours can be. And you could see that the shape we have deleted before is still there, because when we delete a shape, it just deletes the shape, but it still has the points. Alright, so but if you want to delete the points of a shape, like utterly remove the shape, a better way would be, instead of using the delete shape tool, you would select the points you want to delete, right? And then you would press delete on your keyboard. Now that gets rid of every single thing, right? Let's do the same. Delete. Okay, so that's how that works. Let's do some examples. I'm going to create a new layer and draw something like a landscape. So I probably want some green, like so, and then maybe where shape. So we have many examples. I'm going to open up this other option, which is the perspective points. This tool gives you the freedom to rotate your points like a perspective, as though it was 3D. Very interesting. We also have this also shares a point. So we also have bend just bends the point. So I want to quickly add some points, so I'll just come here, select this point, and then I would come here and you see split. So split can create more points, so I can create more points. You see they're being generated. So I'm just going to select some points. So let's select some points at random, so we can create a sort of landscape. Just a very quick demonstration. Let's move it up a bit, then I will move this around with my noise tool. The more I move, the more noise it generates, you can see. So that's for my shape. I'm going to draw another shape. This is going to be my sky. So let's use a blue color. And then I draw it. So you can see that I have this created. But I probably want the sky to be behind the ground, so I can select my sky with the select shape tool, and then I'll press the down arrow to take it down so it's behind the ground shape. So now we have this. Then I think this layer of the character should be above the background. That's how we create and use some of these tools. Let me quickly show you an example with a new tool. I'm going to create a sun and demonstrate what this tool does. Curve profile. So I'm going to just draw a random shape. Let's just say, let's remove the fill, and maybe it's just gonna be like this. Okay, yeah. So let's assume we're okay with this. And of course, we have other tools here that we're going to discuss later on. But let's just assume that we have this as our shape. I am going to create my sun on this layer. So let's draw, maybe I want it to be a yellow sun. So maybe it's yellow like this, and then I draw. Okay, then I'm going to add more points to my shape. Alright, so you could see that this is for adding more points, and of course the reverse is the case. Simplify simply reduces the points of our shape and tries to keep the shape the way it is. But let's just go with this for now. So I am going to show you how this tool works. So how it works is that you could select your curvature like so, and this is affecting this. All right, so this curvature you're seeing is from this tool. All right, so if I were to move this, for example, it's going to also affect this. Do your own character, make it very fine. So I want you to finish up your characters, do your landscapes, make it very good looking, let's see what you've learned so far, because in our next class I'm going to teach you more about the freehand drawing tools. See you then.